Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Coaches and Content. I'm your host, Zach Scholl, and on this podcast, we try to teach coaches how to get clients through content. And speaking of content, I have the king of content on here. This guy's a content machine. I don't know how he does it. We're going to find out today. But I have Jeff Pfitzer here with me today. Jeff, how you doing today?
What's up, brother, man? It's good to be here, and congratulations on the new podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, guys, just so that you know a little bit of background about Jeff. So Jeff has his own podcast with Tristan Ahumada. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, it's technically Amada, but yeah, he accepts that pronunciation.
Yeah, I think I was pretty close.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Tristan owns the Facebook group called Lab Coat Agents, and Jeff and Tristan have a podcast called Drunk on Social. It's a great podcast. You check it out. It's all the latest news about social media, things like that. Then they also have a Facebook group, which I'm an admin of, so I might be biased, but it's a great group. It's also called Drunk on Social. Jeff is also a co-founder of Business Video School, where they teach you how to create video content for your business. He's also a regional vice president at USA Mortgage. And on top of all that, he's a husband and a father. And on top of all that, he makes about 100 videos a day. So, Jeff, I'm just curious how you juggle all this. So we're going to get into all that. But did I miss anything? Is there any other titles we need to add?
There's a few other things, yeah, that I do. We've got a couple other platforms, one called Real Estate Mastery Pros, another one's called Business Video School. So yeah, there's it's safe to say I don't have a whole lot of extra hours to do anything, to be honest with you.
Well, we had conversations before about how you love doing this stuff. So it's like some people like to, they have hobbies. This is your hobby, so it makes it easier, right?
I was just thinking about that this morning in the shower, ironically, and I was thinking about how it might be a good video content. And it was, I was thinking back to, maybe 5-6 years ago before I really got super heavy into this stuff. And I was thinking, and the context of why I was thinking about it was that some people might have the perception that people like me work too much, or you work to live versus live to work, right? And in my case, I think they would argue that I live to work, which really isn't necessarily true, because when I think back and I think, what did I do with my time before I spent time creating content, editing videos, and that sort of thing? And the answer is, I watched television shows. I binge watched things. I watched more sports. I probably played more games on my phone. There's, various things, Candy Crush, and there's some golf games I got into, maybe video gaming, maybe, gosh, just you burn time. I don't care what anybody says. Anybody who is on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you actually analyze your day, you probably spend at least several hours doing a lot of nothing, scrolling social media, again, binge watching shows, whatever, right? And I think I just figured out how to maximize my time. And so now I prioritize, after my family, I prioritize working out and I prioritize content creation, because it's created a ton of opportunity for me. And yeah, I do like it. I do love it. I do spend a lot of time doing it. I don't want to maintain this pace forever, but right now I got a mission. And so I'm going to keep going.
What's your mission?
First and foremost, continue to grow and sustain and grow our mortgage business. I think a lot of people don't understand how the two tie together. I spend the majority of my days on all of these side projects. Literally, they don't pay my bills. In fact, these side businesses, I'm pumping more money into them than they're putting back to us at this point. But the influence and authority status that I've created in the real estate community attracts to our mortgage business. And so if you're listening to this as a mortgage professional and you're thinking to yourself, there is that constant struggle of, how do I get business? How do I get an agent's attention? Or how do I get the consumer's attention, right? We all lean on the same stuff. That stuff being, I'm going to go on social media. I'm going to go in front of the camera and I'm going to talk about the latest listings that I have. I'm going to talk about market data. I'm going to talk about the awards I won. I'm going to talk about a bunch of stuff that everybody else is talking about that nobody cares about, right? And the same in the mortgage world. It's like, I'm going to talk about the current volatility in the rate market. I'm going to talk about the latest Fannie Mae update. I'm going to talk about something new that FHA came out with. And we're all leaning towards that kind of stuff, and it becomes very diluted. And when you really sit back and think about the essence of social media, it's social media. It's not business media. People We in the real estate industry open up the app and see real estate and mortgage content, 2 out of 3 posts, maybe 4 out of 5 posts. But our neighbors and the rest of human beings, they're seeing whatever it is they engage with. They're going there to kill time, to be entertained, right? They're going there for mindless content. And so if you really want to use it for your business, it's actually like a reverse engineering of your mindset. If you want to capture attention, hit them where they want to be hit. And they don't really care about real estate content. If they cared about it, they'd Google it, they'd search Zillow, and so if you really want to be in their feed and win the algorithm with them, you got to connect with them and you got to resonate with them and you got to figure out what you guys have, where the commonalities are. And then you suck them in, then you bleed in your business post. They're still not going to engage you, but they're going to remember Jeff's a mortgage guy or Zach's a real estate agent. And there's just that undying loyalty to people when you have a connection. We both are into tennis. We're both into golf. We're both into growing tomatoes. I want to use that guy or gal. And it's how it works. And a lot of people just have a really hard time wrapping their head around that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
you actually, it's funny. You answered like 3 of the questions that I wrote. So that's one of the
I think I didn't answer the question, which is, what are my goals? But the goal is to grow, so a bunch of goals and everything that I do ultimately, if none of it turns into any profit or revenue for me, which is, Drunk on Social, which is social media coaching. It's teaching people the video school. It's Real Estate Mastery, which is providing educational content to real estate agents. If none of that stuff ever pays off monetarily, it's still creating and positioning me to attract real estate agents because I've positioned myself as more valuable than their broker. And so now I have I fulfill a need in their life, which isn't what every other mortgage person is doing, which is, hey, I'll do your loans. Hey, I'll answer my phone on nights and weekends. Like that all that does is muddy the water. We all have the same ability to do that, but not everybody has the same ability to help them truly grow their business and their brand by the things that I'm teaching them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. What I meant before is you answered questions that I had prepared for you that I was going to ask you, but I'm going to ask them another way. But I also, when we started this, I should have promoted your social media so people can actually see what you do, because you have a lot of awesome, great videos. And I know you have a lot of followers on TikTok. So where can they see some of your content?
Everywhere. It depends where you hang out. My name is as you see it on the screen on every platform. So it's just Jeff Pfitzer. And so it's, I'm creating the most amount of content probably on TikTok. It's 3, my goal this year, as Zach, is 3 videos a day, 5 days a week. But I use that as kind of the cornerstone for all of my social. So, I'm creating the content there and then cross posting it to different platforms. I do originate a lot of organic content on Instagram as well. And so some of those go back and forth between the two. And then I'm usually taking that content and then cross posting it over, some of it to YouTube, some of it to LinkedIn, some of it to Facebook. So I'm very active on all of those platforms. I'm even semi-active on Twitter, if that's your cup of tea. Very far less active, and that's just pretty much quotes that I'm doing there. But yeah, I'm easy to find. Once you get into my web, it's hard to leave. So if you like it, it's great. I'm kind of like, maybe a miniature version of Gary Vee. That's kind of the goal. And if you don't like it, well, I'm sorry.
So one of the things I wanted to ask was like leveraging, you kind of already touched on it, because this is the big thing people don't realize is how it gives you a platform and it gives you an audience. But how do you leverage that and funnel it into your mortgage business?
Yeah, that's the hard thing for people to quantify. So again, here's the best way I can describe it. So when I started doing video, it was about 6 years ago, and it was at a time when we had shifted our group to a different company, which is very common in the real estate community, right? And so at the time, I was sitting there doing some self analysis and saying, okay, I'm leaving my old company, which is the number one guy in town, the number one company in town. So how do I differentiate from my former peers, which are now my competition? And this was right about the time when Facebook Live was becoming a thing. And I was watching some guy in my market who was using it and doing these coffee talks. And I was just intrigued. I was like, I feel like this is going to be something. I'm going to give it a shot. And so I just started doing video. It ended up getting me connected to some editors and some names, Mike Cuevas being one of them, who ended up connecting me to Sam Karamian and a bunch of people on the West Coast. But moral of the story was because I kind of embraced it, and I kind of had a creative mindset. So the way I describe it is I was doing TikTok before TikTok existed. In other words, we were doing some green screen stuff and dancing around and being silly. And I remember taking a ton of criticism for it from my competitors, even from a lot of my peers, because they just didn't understand what the hell I was doing. But I just thought, you know what, I feel like if I can edutain them versus just be boring and just be a talking head, I feel like it'll go further. And it did. So I had to weed through and combat and just take the criticism, just being confident in what I was doing. But what ended up happening was my phone started to ring with real estate and mortgage professionals that would say, "Hey, Jeff, you're the video expert. Can you help me with?" And at first it was like, I am. And then I was like, I guess I am, because I'm the only one doing it. And so it was that kind of that light bulb moment that made me realize, man, I got to go all in on this stuff, and I got to continue to up my game and level up and be the quote unquote expert, AKA just know more than they do. If I know more than they do, they perceive me as the expert. And now the real estate agent who I'm usually calling on to say, let's go out for a cup of coffee, send me your business, I'm available. Now they're calling me. And I was like, I just flipped the script. I just flipped the tables and cracked the code, if you will. And so ever since, I just kind of went all in, and video led to social media was my medium, was my primary medium for delivering the video. And it just has evolved into kind of embracing that and owning it. And frankly, Zach, you know this, social media, I didn't know this 5-6 years ago, but since COVID, social media is now on a just crash course. I mean, it is going a million miles an hour. And so, the way Tristan and I look at it is there's a need for this. And so we're just positioning ourselves. We feel like we are just ahead. Everything we're talking about. Yesterday, we were talking about NextMind, which is, we talk about the Oculus and VR and AR, and we're ahead of our time. We know that. We're intentionally doing that. But the next thing is these pieces of hardware that actually read your mind, and now I can turn my lights on by thinking it. And that's the kind of shit that's coming. And so we're just trying to stay hip to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. That's some scary stuff.
Yeah.
I'm curious how social media is gonna incorporate that. That's
well,
crazy.
it's so it's you go back to the VR, so virtual reality. And so when I talk about VR, I talk about the Oculus, you talk about the metaverse, and we're still a few years out. But the one thing that I've learned, and I will say that honestly, being one of the strongest voices, if not the strongest voice for TikTok, back in 2019, before anybody had even known what it was or were embracing it or thought it was just for kids, I was standing on real estate stages saying, you should start paying attention to this, and this is why. And let me show you some examples of how it can be used. And this is back when it was only 15-second videos. And I guess what would have, if it never turned into anything, what's the worst that's going to happen? People would have just teased me and been like, oh yeah, remember that TikTok? But since TikTok has become what it has, now I'm a genius. Now it's like, holy shit, we should pay attention to what this guy tells us now. And that was kind of my lucky break, if you will, I would say. Obviously I was still doing the video and the social stuff, but I think it's really helped me. And now I'm starved for it. So it's like, I saw what that did. So I went all in on Clubhouse, as you know, and we were wrong. I mean, it didn't go off, but the point is anything new, I'm going to take it, play with it, test it, see if it can be used. And I want to be on the forefront of it, because as you know, if you embrace any platform, and we talk about TikTok because, the growth potential is so great. And even that is suppressing slightly versus what it was 2 years ago. But if you think back, if I had embraced Facebook earlier, how much more damage could I be doing in that platform? If I had embraced Instagram earlier, before the algorithm caught up, I could have hundreds of thousands of followers, right? And now it's really hard to grow because we all have this wait and see mindset. And I just totally disagree. And it was actually Mark Zuckerberg. I heard him on a podcast recently. He said something to the effect of if people aren't questioning what I'm doing, like if they're not questioning, I feel like I'm going stagnant. So if, in other words, if I'm not doing things that are pushing the limits, that people aren't questioning what I'm doing, then I've got to step up my game. And he says it more articulately than that. And I actually wrote it down, and I'm gonna actually tweet it. But it's a brilliant thought process, and that's how I think. And that's how I think that innovators need to think. I think there's very few that have a pioneer mindset and have the balls to be first. But those that do, and I think there's a lot of people that probably will listen to this that are like, I want to be that way, then that's the way you got to think. And then you got to embrace this stuff. And you can't sit there and say, well, I'm going to wait and see what it does. Because if you wait and see, by the time you embrace, you're climbing an uphill battle at that point. Whereas if you had got in early, now you're just riding the wave. And so that's what I believe. And so anyways, so for example, virtual reality, we're going to end up by and large at some point in our lives living a good portion of our lives in a virtual world. Like that's going to be where we watch TV. It's probably where we're going to watch movies. It's probably where we're going to interact with people. It's how we're going to go to conferences. It's how we're going to go to masterminds and meetings. It's how we're going to host podcasts. And we can sit there and say, oh man, crazy. No way. But it's just like, it's like the radio was 70 years ago, or longer, where moms were saying, this machine is ruining my children. They used to want to go outside and play baseball. Now they just want to come in and listen to it on the radio. And there's going to come a day when we sit there and say, man, I long for the day that all we had was social media, because it's going to turn into something new. And it's an ever evolving world. And I just look at it and say, rather than sit back and say, F this, I'm just going to live in the moment, which we should all do. But having an understanding and appreciation and kind of an embracing mentality of what's next is advantageous for your business.
So I agree with all that for sure. I'm just curious, like, how do you benefit or capitalize on something that is probably going to be big, but like you don't know how yet, you don't know how to get involved because, it's like you just said, if only you got in on Facebook earlier, we know about this stuff, but how do you really capitalize off it?
You don't know until you know, to be honest with you. And so again, you think back because it's fresh. You think about a TikTok, and again, 2 years ago, everybody couldn't really fully understand it. It was very simply, it's only kids on the app, which at the time it was very heavy on teenage kids, girls specifically, which was creepy, right? And it was dancing, and it was that kind of thing. But so rather than, it's a cup half full, empty mindset, in my opinion, is simply, do I see where this can go? And so rather than looking at it in the time that we're in and saying, this is going nowhere because it's just a bunch of teenage girls, stop for a second and think about it. What was Facebook originally? A college app.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And look at it now. It's all gray hairs, right? It's the old timers. The kids aren't even on it anymore. What was Snapchat to begin with? And it still is by and large, but Snapchat has helped, kind of mold a lot of the features that we now have in these other platforms, because Facebook's copied it 6, 7, 10 times over. That's why we have stories. That's why we have all this stuff. And so it's to me, it's having the mindset of, what could this be? And honestly, going back to Clubhouse, Tristan and I still have a vision for a product that gave us the idea from Clubhouse. Clubhouse isn't dead. It's just for the right people. Some people love it, right? But honestly, and Tristan and I are partially to blame for it. There was a mass rush to it because we promoted it. So then people have FOMO and they're like, "What am I missing?" And expect that. But to kind of go back to your question, it's having, how it is in any business, like, you got to be a student of the game, whether you're an athlete or you're a business operator, you're a salesperson, you own your business, you've got to be a student of your game. If you get complacent, you're going to die. And so, there's a reason why dinosaurs went extinct, right? They didn't evolve. And it's the same thing in business. If you don't evolve, you will likely go extinct. And if you evolve, you will grow. And it's a hard mindset for people to embrace, but that's the problem, is that what will virtual reality serve for our business? And so, just as an example, you know, because of COVID, we've gone into a touchless world. The younger generations are only going to become more and more, this is kind of a double negative, less embracing of physical touch. In other words, meeting at a home to walk through it when they can sit on their couch, put their Oculus on, and walk through it that way, because that's what's going to happen. And so the agents that embrace that are going to just have a leg up, a step ahead to that world. And frankly, folks, I get the joke every once in a while. People will take a shot at me and be like, "Oh, Jeff, 16-year-olds aren't buying homes." Well, snap your fingers and they will be. And that's the reality. And so you can live in the now. There's nothing wrong with that. You'll probably be successful, but I want to run a business that sustains for the next 10 or 15 years. And so I'm looking ahead to the next 2 to 3. You can't look ahead 10 or 15. That's too far. Who knows? We could be living like the Jetsons then. But virtual reality is not going anywhere. The metaverse is coming. That's going to be Facebook's relevance. And so what does it mean for us? It's going to mean a lot more virtual interaction. And the more you embrace it, think about it, Zach. Look at EXP and its virtual world.
Yeah.
And people mock it, but the people that are in it love the shit out of it. And when you really think about it, EXP created a vehicle for an agent in no name Missouri to now grow a team of agents that come from New York and California and Washington and Florida. You couldn't do that prior to EXP. It's your niche community, and that was it. And so, these vehicles are just creating opportunities, and it's not for everybody, but the real estate world is going to just become more and more touchless. And in other words, virtual open houses and virtual open houses are going to turn into virtual reality open houses. And guess what? Augmented reality is not going to be too far behind it. We're going to have holograms standing in our living room. You're going to be looking at my hologram, interviewing me, and vice versa. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, we've seen some of the hologram technology at concerts and stuff, and I have no doubt that it's going to be part of our everyday life soon enough, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think we were talking about the future a lot. I definitely want to talk about the now because I have some friends actually who just recently became mortgage brokers, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And I tell them how to make video content, but how someone who's never made video before, they might be a little shy. Like, where do they start? What do they make content about?
First and foremost, get over it. You're going to suck. You're going to sound like crap. You're not going to be eloquent. You're going to stumble. That's normal. So did I. The best barrier to entry is one-to-one video. That's the best way to get comfortable. So invest in a platform like BombBomb and build it into your business. And in other words, every single transaction, you should be doing 2 different things. You should be communicating via video, which is more powerful anyway. It creates a stronger relationship with the person on the other end. It helps you articulate things better. You can do screen shares and share closing disclosure, a loan estimate, or walk them through a contract, you name it, right? It's so much more powerful than typing an email that they're either A, not going to read the whole thing, or B, they're going to have a hard time understanding it, because you can take words different ways. So that's number one. But you should also build in some evergreen videos into an automation system that says, that fires off, that says, congratulations on your accepted contract. Here's the next steps, which also makes your life easier because you're building an automation, but you should do that via video. And then, hey, your loan is clear to close. Congratulations. And you have some fun, you have an editor edit it and make it fun. You can send them out happy loan, year anniversary, loan anniversary, or home anniversary. You can send them out for various milestones in the process. You should be sending out happy birthdays. Zach, I spent 1 year, it was 2017, sending out birthday videos to basically everybody in my sphere. So it was friends, family, or past customers, referral partners. I spent an entire year just every single day, and I usually use Facebook as my catalyst to tell me who's having birthdays. And then those that aren't on Facebook, I'll throw them on my calendar. And I just spent a year sending videos. The impact that had and still has today, people still tell me, I remember that video you sent me 5 years ago. It's powerful because who's doing it? We're lazy. We want to just go to their Facebook feed and say happy birthday like the other 100 people that are doing the same thing. Folks, if you want to differentiate, if you want to be better, do something different. And I get it. Maybe pick up the phone and call them. But let's be honest, that's kind of a nuisance anymore. Not everybody wants to answer the phone anymore. I don't even want to be texted as much anymore. And so, but if you shoot me a video and wish me happy birthday, like that's meaningful. I'm never going to shit on somebody that does that. I'm going to be like, thank you. You took an extra minute to send me a video. And also, by the way, don't make those evergreen. I get them. I get them from people, and they're that general, hey, I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. I hope you have an awesome day, which is better than not doing it. However, take that extra 15 seconds to say, hey, Zach, I hope you have an awesome birthday. And if I know you, I might say, I hope your whoever your wife's name is, takes extra special care of you today. Whatever, if I know you, I'm going to make us a personal reference. Just doing that little extra effort will go a long way to your clients because they're not stupid. They can tell when it's an evergreen video that now you send out to hundreds of other people as well. But if you send them a personal message or you use your whiteboard, you have a whiteboard on standby, and I just sit there and that's how I grab their attention. So that the video is for them. I do this every year to my staff, and I'll pick a holiday. And I'll literally send everybody an individual message, a video. It takes me about 3 hours. It's a pain in the ass, but it's kind of, that's the commitment that I have to my team, that I want to be a little bit different, and they know to expect it. And so put in the work,
And they're all probably like 20, 30 seconds. Like they're not that long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Usually, honestly, a happy birthday videos, those average 10 to 15 seconds. Short, quick. When I did this was 2017. This was before BombBomb. I was literally just shooting them on my camera, editing them in iMovie. I would put them in iMovie. I would edit out the beginning and the end or whatever. And I would put text, happy birthday, Zach, just so it was very clear that I was sending it to them. That was my version of, now technology is so much more advanced. It's so much easier to do nowadays. And you can do it through a variety of sources. You could do it through Messenger. You can do it through text. You can do it. I just believe hit them where they want to be hit. So where do people communicate? I've got some friends that just always message me on Instagram or Facebook. So fine, I'll message you back. Personally, I like to be texted because it's something I'm monitoring more often. But everybody's different. So hit your people where they want to be hit. But just little things like that, man. I mean, so you have an aversion to video. So does everybody else. But start there. Because I don't know if you saw my video recently. I did like a little test on Instagram, and I said, look, let's see how much video is taking over. So I opened up Instagram. This was literally a couple weeks ago. It's when I was in Breckenridge, and I scrolled my feed, and I did a screen record, and I said, let's see how many posts are videos. 20 out of 21 posts, or it was 21 out of 22. I don't remember, something like that, were videos. The one static post was an ad, which was geographically targeting me because I was in Breckenridge, and it was just, something to do in Breckenridge, something to sell me on. 20, all of them essentially, and even the ads, because out of those 20, there was probably 4 ads, and 3 out of 4 of them were videos. Do I need to make it any more clear? Like if you're not shooting video and making video the primary source of your content, even those static posts are probably going to get lost. And if you think this isn't going to just continue to grow and get, become even more, we're not going to go backwards. We're not going to just all of a sudden vacate video and go back to static. It's just not the way it's going to be. And so it's like, the way I say it is you're not going to fail or die if you don't do video, but you're making your job a hell of a lot harder, because guess what that means you get to do? More cold calling, more door knocking, calling expireds, FISBOs, calling on agents every Friday saying, hey, Zach, just want to let you know I'm available this week. And if you need anybody, the agents don't want to take those calls. Your customer doesn't want you door knocking to remind them that you're a realtor. They don't want that. So, instead, embrace this stuff, build it into your business plan, and watch where you're at in 2-3 years.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing I tell people with video is how you're attracting people rather than chasing them. And I see it work all the time, just people don't really believe it. So you have to, you're a prime example of that. It does work.
I can stand on a mountaintop, man. We've grown our mortgage business from our best year. So we were roughly a 600 to 700 unit branch, doing roughly 100 to 125 million. And then 2019, we had our best year ever. We did 800 units for 135 million. And then after that, we just hockey sticked. And last year we did 2,200 plus units for over 560 million. And it's just crazy. And we'll take a step backwards this year, but that's not a reflection of us. It's a reflection of the industry. There's just less homes, rates are going up, but I'm still doing the same things and having the same conversations, being invited, actually being paid to go to real estate conferences, to speak, to be keynote. I mean, that's kind of what the way I teach it is. So if you're a real estate agent or you're a mortgage loan officer, like, where do you want to be? And I'm getting invited, paid to be in a room of my target audience, And so if you can figure that out, that's when you're winning. Because although our business is going to be down this year, it's not for a lack of what we're doing. It's just cyclical, it's a cycle in the business. But here's what I'm not concerned about. When we come out of this, we're going to be primed, and we're already primed. And there's going to be some attrition in the business, which is great. Like, cool, get rid of those gnats on the wall that are annoying me and taking some of my business, because now we're going to go get it. And so we're just continuing to grow our relationships with real estate agents, continue to grow our relationships with LOs. And if you're a real estate agent, for example, you want to be doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, but you want to be doing it geographically to your market. And so for me, I found a segment that was lacking. And I found out that most brokers aren't shooting video or teaching social or branding, like real innovative strategies. And so I found a niche that I could dominate that will help grow my mortgage business. So you, as a real estate agent, need to do the same thing. Go into your community and figure it out. What do people want? What do the masses want? What will attract them to your Facebook group, for example, or to your Instagram page? And if you're bringing them, edutainment, you're bringing them value, you're bringing them something that is like, you become the source, for news, for local events, like right now, if I'm an agent or a loan officer, I'm scouring the area websites or Facebook pages and figuring out where the Easter egg hunts are. And then I'm going to aggregate it all. I'm going to put it into a video or a post, and I'm going to position myself. I'm going to do the same thing for St. Patrick's Day. Where's the best place to go drink green beer? I'm going to do the same thing for Cinco de Mayo. Here's the top 5 places to get a margarita on Cinco de Mayo, and so on. It's never ending, right? You can do this every single year. And then you can aggregate so many other things. Today, actually, there's voting going on here in my market. And so you could put something out about that. And sure, maybe 95% don't give a crap, but 5% might. And now all of a sudden you might have just sucked somebody in who says, I like this content that this Jeff guy's putting out. I'm going to follow him. And then that just leads to, down the road, before you know it, they're going to remember me. This is just the new age billboard. That's all it is. 10 years ago, billboards dominated our marketing. And now it's billboards still exist, but I only grab your attention when you drive by. And even then, all you're doing is seeing a face. And by the way, it costs a lot of money. Social media is free if you do it organically. And I'm catching you when you're laying in bed, when you're sitting on the toilet, when you're sitting at your office, when you're driving in the car. And not only that, I'm building a parasocial relationship because you're watching me talk. You're getting to meet Winter, my 3-year-old. You're getting to meet Sarah, my wife, because that's how I'm sharing, right? It's reality TV for that's how I treat it. And the more you do with that stuff, here's the thing. We get caught up in vanity. How many views did I get? How many followers do I have? And although that's a nice little perk and a bonus, it doesn't really mean anything. what you really should be after is a very focused and intentional audience. And so at the end of the day, you want to dominate your community. And that's what matters. And so if you get a video that gets 1 million views, that 1 million views probably will not result into any business. But you might have another video that gets 200 views that results in 2 or 3 referrals. And so that's what matters, right? And so be intentional about what you're really going after here and give the people what they want. And that is the real you. Because that's what Zach, what no robot can ever, they can never duplicate. Robots are going to replace us by and large, but they'll never be able to replace our authenticity. So whatever it is that you're into in your daily life, your family, your travels, your hobbies, like that's what you should be sharing, because that's where you're going to resonate and connect with people. So,
man, if you don't start doing social media after just like those last few minutes alone, you might just not get it. I mean, you really just nailed why people need to do it. Like, I'm going to definitely send this to a couple of my buddies when it's live, because I think a lot of people need to hear that. I think the other thing too is I think people would like creating content. They just don't know it yet. Like when you really like it, like then you're like all in.
I agree, man. I mean, not everybody's going to have the same passion that I do. Like I genuinely enjoy editing videos. And so not everybody's going to have that passion, but we don't like everything that we do. I guarantee it. If I'm talking to loan officers, there's very little that we truly enjoy doing besides going to the closing table. A, because we're going to get a paycheck. B, because we're changing someone's life. But the process leading up to it sucks. It's painful. And we are we are the ones who take the brunt of anything that goes wrong, right? Real estate agents probably say the same thing. And so you've got to just figure out how to build this in. Maybe you hire some VAs. Maybe you actually do grow a passion for it. I'm not going to lie. In the beginning, I got super nervous every time I would turn on my camera. I got super nervous every time I go live. I would always question myself, like, is this really working? And, now there's tons of proof. When I was doing it, there wasn't. So I was literally just trusting a gut. And now you have the proof and it exists. And you got people like me that I didn't come from money. I just made this on my own. I just kind of figured it out. And now you've got the template. So just go do it and make it your own. But you're right. It's a hell of a lot easier to create content around the things that you're passionate about. So if you are a passionate pickleballer, racquetball player, whatever the hell it is, Netflix watcher, you're passionate about it. You probably have more of an expertise about that than the average person. So talk about it, because people are going to embrace that. It's just like me talking about, working out and physical activity and that sort of thing. I'm not a licensed trainer. I just work out more than the average American does. Therefore, I pay a little bit more attention to it and I can talk about it. And frankly, I just talk about it from my experiences. And, I do various physical challenges. And so you've got to have the confidence in yourself. Again, if you grow tomatoes every year, you legitimately are an expert on growing tomatoes, even though you may not look at yourself as one. Just your experience alone far exceeds 99.5% of the world. Therefore, you have an expert opinion. So share it and start talking about it. Build content around it. You're already doing it every single year. There's a germination process. I mean, I didn't know this. The only reason I use this is because I have a loan officer who does this. And I told her, I'm like, Amanda, I know that sounds boring, but it's actually pretty fascinating. And you just educated me that the tomato growing process is damn near a 365-day, a year gig. It's not quite, but it starts. It's not just put seed in ground, tomato plant grows, and it lasts a couple, it's like an 8 to 10 month process. And I'm like, you should be sharing that. People would totally eat that crap up. And those are going to be your people. That's going to be your tribe. You know what I mean? And we all have different, so for me, it's golf. I do that a fair amount. So I share it. So I'm going to connect with golfers. It's fitness and diet. I'm not going to connect with everybody because a lot of people, even my own best friends, are like, like, oh, Mr. Healthy guy. But there's a lot of people that I do inspire. There's a lot of people that resonate with me and stay with me as a result of that. Family is very important to me, so I share a lot of it, and that resonates with a lot of people. With parents of toddlers, I grow a stronger connection with those people. So as you can see, I build pockets, And, each pocket might be 200 people, but if I have 1,000 different people in all of those pockets, that's a hell of an awesome network, right? When you really think about it, when you think about 5 years ago, when we had to go to networking events to actually grow our spheres, the power and the potential that we have on social now with parasocial relationships is just astronomical. And like you just said, if you don't get it now, I don't think it's not you don't get it. You're just not willing to embrace it. And that's okay. But guess what? You better start embracing picking up the phone then. You better embrace the strategies, and just embrace the fact that your agent that you have a 10-year relationship with, and the relationship is just built around mortgage and real estate. At some point, that agent might find a Jeff Pfitzer and be like, Jeff, can you help me with video? Because my loan officer doesn't do that kind of stuff. I just potentially penetrated and might steal one of your relationships. I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just the reality. So you got to look at it that way. And so if you're not doing it, somebody else might be, and you're going to run the risk of losing it. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to wrap things up, is that, if you're not doing it, you need to start, because I guarantee you the person down the street, either they're doing it now or they're going to be doing it pretty soon. So you might as well jump on it. One of the things I like too with you is you have your businesses serve different purposes. So if everyone likes what they're hearing, you have business video school that will teach them, how to make their own content, right?
Yeah.
What's the URL for that?
Bizvideoschool.com.
And then why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because I know that's a big thing, and you're helping a lot of people get good with video.
Yeah, it's funny how these quote unquote businesses have come around. So video, same thing. I was just doing a lot of it, and we just saw a need, and you get so many people asking you that your time does become valuable, and you're just giving it away for free. Eventually, that's not scalable, and so what we decided was let's put it into a curriculum, and let's figure out what it is they need. And so there's a fraction of agents, I should say, not a lot, but a fraction that are going to say, screw it, I'm not doing it myself. I'm just going to hire a videographer. But the masses can't afford to do that. And so if we can teach you how to edit a video, how to use proper lighting, how to use the features and functions in your camera, on your phone, how to use a teleprompter, how to improve your camera presence, how to articulate better, how to remove ums and things like that. There's so many things that we can teach that you need those skills. And if you like to learn in a kind of a group setting, if you like to learn where it's very organized, then the business video school is perfect for you. If you like to learn on your own, just go YouTube it. I have no problem saying that, because that is the reality. But most people need structure. If you need structure, you need something like the business video school. But if you just want to do it on your own, go YouTube it. But Zach, the same thing with Drunk on Social, man. It's the same concept that Tristan and I see this as something that's coming. And a lot of our industry, all industries, don't realize it yet. They know this is important, but they're not really truly embracing it yet. And some are, and they're the ones that are going to be just riding the wave. They're going to have a hockey stick curve. They're going to grow. They're already probably crushing it. And eventually everybody's going to realize it. And so, now we do social media coaching. It's called Social Genius, and we have group coaching, and and we're actually becoming social media managers for teams and brokerages and individuals, where we're going to help them create a plan, create content, help them with scripting, help them with editing, maybe help them create a newsletter, all the things that they need to have that they could hire and do themselves, but most of them don't have the own expertise to train their own people. So we're finding these gaps that exist and what we think is coming, and we're just getting out ahead of it. And so we offer all of those services. And you asked earlier, like, you said, what am I going to do with things like VR? But what I say is, don't worry about that, because that's what Drunk on Social is for. All you have to do is engage it. So how do you consume content? Is it a podcast? Well, subscribe to the Social Genius podcast. Is it through Facebook group? Well, then get in the Facebook group. Do you like to spend your time on Instagram? Then go like Drunk on Social on Instagram or on TikTok, because we're putting out the same content everywhere. Do you like YouTube? We're there too. And so my point is it's just something that it's just a small piece of your daily life and your business. But my opinion, based on my experience, is you should build this into your consumption strategy, and you should be consuming this stuff just so you have your finger on that pulse, because when something pops, you want to be ready. You don't want to learn secondhand. So, but yeah, I don't know if that I bent it outside of business video school, but there's several things there.
Yeah, no, that was great. That was a great sell of why they need to, listen to the podcast, join the group, hire you guys. Is it so? It's drunkonsocial.com. Is that the main?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a website that is drunkonsocial.com.
And for those watching or listening, we'll have links to all this stuff in the descriptions.
Yeah, just remind me, Zach, offline, and I'll connect you. Well, just actually I'll get you all that stuff. But yes, drunkonsocial.com is basically the conduit to everything. You can sign up. We have a newsletter. You can sign up for the newsletter. You can go check out. We have blogs. We have a bunch of stuff. We're just pumping out tons of free content. You don't have to pay us anything. I mean, truthfully, if you're a consumer, you can just go consume it all for free. If you want to go deeper, then you might want to hire us. But that's not even necessary. I mean, Zach, you've gotten to know me and Tristan, and that's just how we operate, give. And, there comes a point that if you want more, then you're going to have to pay for it, but you don't have to. It's up to you as an individual.
Yeah, I think the podcast is great because I love you guys talk about current stuff and then how to use it and what's coming down the pipeline. So if you guys are into podcasts, definitely check out the podcast. I personally listen to it.
It's very casual. Yeah, Tristan and I joke a lot. It's probably more like a what is his name? Joe Rogan kind of style. It's very casual like that, but we have fun, and I think it allows you to know our personalities. But then we're talking about what's in the news, and so you don't have to go scour these sites like we do. All you got to do is we basically are the Cliff Notes to the social media world. That's it.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I really appreciate you doing this. We've had a lot of great conversations on Facebook, but it's nice to talk about this stuff because not everyone's into this stuff like we are,
It's true, man. And I don't expect anybody to get into it like us. That's why we created this. But I think that everybody should embrace it at a certain level. If you consider yourself somebody who's an innovator who wants to, kind of be out ahead, this is one of those avenues. And so start doing it, because if you want to succeed and you want to stop and you want to get out of the hamster wheel, this is one way to do it. Attraction is way better than chasing. And this is the best way to attract.
It's a great way to end it right there. I really don't think you could end it with a better quote than that, because I wholeheartedly agree. So again, Jeff, I really want to thank you for doing this, and I want to appreciate everyone for listening and watching. Check the description for notes. I'll have to put like your personal Facebook in there too, I guess, and your TikTok. He's all over the place. So guys, make sure you connect with Jeff. Check out Drunk on Social Business Video School, and we'll check you next week.
Thanks, brother.